Yes, very good morning. Right, so yesterday we completed with the entire first schedule, yes, in which there are 4 parts, part 1, part 2, part 3 and part 4 of the first schedule. Yes, part 1, first schedule, professional misconduct for CAs in practice. Yes, practice by non-CA, sharing, accepting, partnership, canvassing, soliciting, advertising, NOC 139, percentage contingent basis, permission and signing. Then part 2 for schedule, professional misconduct for CAs in service, not to share, not to accept for CAs in service. Part 3 for schedule, professional misconduct generally, not being a fellow, acts as a fellow member of the institute, does not supply the information called for or does not comply with the requirements asked for by ICAI and or its functionaries and gives false information under clause 6 and 7 of part 1 of first schedule. Part 4 first schedule, other misconduct generally. Clause 1, imprisonment up to 6 months. And clause 2, part 4, first schedule, disrepute. In the opinion of the council, brings disrepute to the profession or to the institute as a result of his action, whether or not related to his professional work. Right, so that was the entire first schedule. Yes, what was part 2 first schedule? Not to share, not to accept CAs in service. What was part 3 first schedule? Not being a fellow, acts as a fellow, so does not supply information to ICAI and false information under 6 and 7. And what is part 4 first schedule? Imprisonment up to 6 months and disrepute. Okay. Then after that we started with the second schedule. In the second schedule there are 3 parts. Part 1, professional misconduct for CAs in practice. Part 2, second schedule, professional misconduct generally. And part 3, second schedule, other misconduct generally, in which there is only one clause, imprisonment for more than 6 months. Right, so what is part 1, second schedule? Right, part 1, second schedule, professional misconduct for CAs in practice. Right, and what is clause 1, part 1, second schedule, 112? Yes, breach of confidentiality, CAs in practice. What does it say? Not discloses information acquired in the course of his professional engagement to any person other than his client, unless required by law for the time being in force or taken consent of the client for the same. Clause 2, part 1, second schedule, certifies or submits in his name or in the name of his firm any report on examination of financial statements unless the examination of the financial statements and the related records has been done by he, his partner, his employee, another CA in practice. 3. If he permits his name to be used in connection with estimate of earnings contingent upon future transactions in a manner which may lead to the belief that he vouches for the accuracy of the forecast. So does that mean that a CA can never associate himself with a forecast? He can associate with a forecast subject to the guidelines of SAE 3400. The basis of forecast, the major assumptions, the sources of information, and he should not vouch for the accuracy of the forecast. Then clause 4, part 1, second schedule, expresses his opinion on the financial statements of any business or enterprise where he, his partner, his firm, his relative AS 18 has substantial interest. However, information system work related to the employer allowed because it does not involve expression of opinion. It only involves verification of facts. So what is the exception to 412? Information system work allowed, but expressing opinion on financial statements where you, your firm, your partner, your relative AS18 has substantial interest, not allowed. Then what is clause 5, part 1, second schedule? Fails to disclose a material fact known to him which is not disclosed in the financial statements, but disclosure of which is necessary in the financial statements where he is concerned with such financial statements in a professional capacity. What did we say? Management has not disclosed. An auditor has also not disclosed that. Management has not disclosed. And then what did we say? Whenever it is a provident fund question, in that case it is going to be 512. And a loan has been given out of the PF trust to the employer company. The auditor of the PF trust gave this information to the trustees of the PF trust, but not to the beneficiaries, subscribers of the PF trust. Supreme Court decision ke auditor of the PF trust, he should have given this information to the beneficiaries, to the trustees, to the subscribers of the PF trust. And that is why guilty of professional misconduct under 512. Okay. Right, so that was 512. Right, fails to disclose a material fact. Right, that is 512. Right, what is the overall objective of the audit in accordance with SA 200? What is the overall objective of the audit in accordance with SA 200? To obtain a reasonable assurance that financial statements are free from material misstatements, thereby enabling the auditor to express an opinion whether or not the financial statements have been prepared by the management in accordance with an applicable financial reporting framework, and then to report the findings of the auditor in accordance with the standards on auditing. Right, so what is the overall objective of the audit? To obtain reasonable assurance that financial statements are free from material misstatement. And now you did the audit and you found out a few material misstatements in the financial statements. Yani ke the financial statements are not free from material misstatement. There is a material misstatement in the financial statement. So what do you do in that case? What do you do where you identify that there is a material misstatement in the financial statement? Depending upon the pervasiveness, whether it is material but not pervasive or whether it is material and pervasive, accordingly you decide to issue a qualified opinion or an adverse opinion. So whenever there is a material misstatement, how do you report a material misstatement? Either by issuing a qualified opinion or by issuing an adverse opinion. But you know, where a qualified or an adverse opinion should have been issued by the auditor. What type of opinion the auditor should have issued? Qualified or an adverse opinion. But an unmodified opinion has been issued. Then he is guilty of professional misconduct under 612. Clause 6, Part 1, second schedule. Look at the wordings. Fails to report a material misstatement known to him to appear in the financial statements where he is concerned with such financial statements in a professional capacity. And how do you report a material misstatement? Either by issuing a qualified opinion or an adverse opinion. Like say, you know, example again I can take of our earlier example, the earlier example which we had taken. Okay, say during the audit you came to know that inventory is overvalued by 20 crore. Say during the audit you came to know that inventory is overvalued by 20 crore. Say assuming that materiality is 10 crore, for this inventory overvalued by 20 crore, should you not have issued a qualified opinion? Yes, assuming it is material but not pervasive, you should have issued no qualified opinion. Basis for qualified opinion, inventory is overvalued by 20 crore. But what you did, you issued an unmodified opinion saying that financial statements give a true and fair view without any qualification. So now where are you going to be guilty of professional misconduct? Under 612. So see, that is also a problem. Okay, where you identified a material misstatement, where you should have issued a qualified or an adverse opinion. Or say, client is putting you under pressure. See it, dekh lena. If you issue qualified or adverse, next year we will not appoint you. So again, if he succumbs to the pressure of the management and he issues an unmodified opinion, then he is guilty of professional misconduct under clause 6, part 1, second schedule. Yes, do you get what is clause 5? Fails to disclose a material fact. Okay, do you see the wordings of 512 and 612 together? What is 512? Fails to disclose a material fact. Fails to disclose a material fact. And what are the wordings of 612? Fails to report a material misstatement. Fails to report a material misstatement. What example I had taken for material fact? Loan being given out of the PF trust to the employer company, non-creation of the sinking fund in accordance with the debenture trust deed. I had taken those as examples of fails to disclose a material fact. So what are we saying? CA should have disclosed the material fact, no? Okay, company has not created a sinking fund. Are you getting what I am telling you? Management has not disclosed. An auditor has also not disclosed that management has not disclosed. So what we are saying is that auditor should have disclosed. How auditor will disclose? By modifying his opinion. Are you getting what I wanted to ask you? Okay, how will you disclose in your report? By modifying your opinion, by writing in your basis for modified opinion paragraph. So is it not again becoming a material misstatement only? So can I say every non-disclosure of a material fact is a material misstatement?
Not every. Why not
Every non-disclosure of a material fact. इतनी बड़ी बात मैनेजमेंट ने तो नहीं बताई, ठीक है. You understand? Auditor तुमने भी नहीं बताई. और ऑडिटर कैसे बताएगा? By putting it in his report. And report में डालना है मतलब you will have to modify your opinion for the same. So can I say every non-disclosure of a material fact is a material misstatement? Yes. Come to the first question of 512. 512, not 612. Not first one. Okay, come to first one also. Let me see what is the first one. Mr. Extraordinary. Yesterday we had met him, no? A practicing CA had failed to report. प्यारे प्यारे मासूम बच्चे, where they'll go? Fail to report पढ़ के? 612 ना? You understand ना? And sweet, innocent children reading fails to report. Where they'll go? 612. But where have I written it under? 512, because every non-disclosure of a material fact is going to be a material misstatement. So there is not so much of confusion in any other clause as much as the confusion in this clause 5 and clause 6. So I have given you two speed breakers. One, what? Management has not disclosed. An auditor has also not disclosed that management has not disclosed. If you get the answer to this sentence, then 512. Second, if it's a question on provident fund, then again 512. And if there is too much of difficulty, then write both 512 also and 612 also. You understand? Okay. For 612, they give the example of reduction of share capital. Do you know something about reduction of share capital? Yes, reduction of share capital, a special resolution is to be passed in the general meeting. Then you need to make an application to the tribunal. Then the tribunal may order the company to use the words "and reduced" after its name. You remember? Then the reduced value, it's internal reconstruction, no? Then the reduced value of the assets is required to be shown. Now what happened during the year in the company? There was reduction of share capital which took place. However, management has not disclosed. They have not said, we applied to the court, reduction was done. They have not disclosed. And auditor has also not disclosed that management has not disclosed. There was reduction of share capital which took place during the year. So one, that is 512. And second, abhi reduction hua hai, so reduced value of asset should be reflected into the books. No, but reduced value of asset is not reflected into the books. So that's again fails to report a material misstatement. That is why both 512 also and 612 also. Are you getting 512 also and 612 also? Right, so reduction of share capital, right? That is the example they give for 612. Right, so if you come over here, it says the decisions of the court. Are you all there? Yes, 612. Yes, page number 2.64. Right. A CA was charged under clause 5 and 6 to fail to report that there was a reduction of share capital with corresponding reduction in the loans and advances on the asset side, which contravene the Travancore Companies Act. Very old law. Very old company law, Travancore. Okay, but same thing, na? Okay, reduction of share capital has not been disclosed also, and the reduction in the loans and advances has not been reported also. Then CA failed to disclose a misstatement or an understatement by the company in the balance sheet of its liabilities. So, reduction in the value of liability is not shown. Yes, which amounted to suppression of the current state of affairs, correct state of affairs. He fails to report a material misstatement not given in the previous year figures in the corresponding column of the balance sheet. So again, it says he was guilty under clause 6 and also clause 7, because what is clause 7? Gross negligence. Does not exercise due diligence or is grossly negligent in the conduct of his professional duties. Right, come to question number 1. Right, come to question number 1. Ex-partner of X and company C is. Yes, for submission to the bankers of the company. Also compiled and signed at the request of the company another balance sheet inflating the value of assets by 20% for submission to a term lending institution. So one they prepared for bank, one they prepared for term lending institution. And wonderful, both the balance sheets were not in conformity with the books of account. So much of material misstatement also. Yes, but that's what we always said now, this 2, 5, 6, 7 very jumbling. So 2 we give only for expression of opinion. Here it is not expression of opinion, here they've compiled. Without examination. So that is also, but that is giving expression of opinion, no. Certifies or submits in his name or in the name of his firm any report on examination of financial statements. Now here it is more of compilation. So what does it say? One to fails to disclose a material fact that this balance sheet profit and loss account are not in agreement with the books of account. And second, the value of assets is inflated by 20%. Yani they are again, there is a material misstatement. That is why guilty of professional misconduct under clause 5 also and clause 6 also. So both the balance sheets were incorrect and false, and as the books and records were not up to date, thus X is guilty of professional misconduct. ये कौन से CAs होते हैं? जुगाड़ू CAs. And depending upon where you want to submit the financial statements, they will accordingly prepare a set of financial statements and give you. You understand? No. Right. Next one. Question number 2. Ashok Mittal is the auditor of a partnership firm consisting of Ram and Shyam as partners. In his report to the firm, he did not refer certain materially irregular transactions found in the books of the firm, for the reason that Ram, the senior partner, had approved all such transactions. So you went to the audit of a partnership firm and you came to know some irregular transactions. But the senior partner is telling, "Arey, mujhe pata hai, I have only passed these entries. No need to put it in the report." Now, is the auditor of the partnership firm preparing the report only to be used for the partners? No, the report is going to be used by the bank, it is going to be used by the government, it may be used by the employees of the partnership firm. Right, so obviously not reporting it would again make it guilty of professional misconduct under clause 5 also and clause 6 also. Right, so clause 5 and clause 6 of part 1 of first schedule. Therefore, as per both these clauses, the auditors would be deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct, and in case of a partnership firm, partners are jointly and individually liable, hence Ram and Shyam both are responsible. Okay, right, so that is clause 6 part 1 second schedule. Right, that is clause 6 part 1 second schedule. Right, what is clause 6 part 1 second schedule? fails to report a material misstatement known to him to appear in the financial statements where he is concerned with such financial statements in a professional capacity. Yes?
Now for question 2, can't we also quote clause 7 because again it's gross negligence that he's not here.
It is. Matlab, I can't deny the fact. It is.
Almost a question with clause 7
Aega. And then clause 2 also, it reminds you of clause 2 also. You understand? But then, just, if it's a new question in the exam, then you are like dicey, okay, what you should write. But if it's a repeat question, so then you know, okay, when these 2-3 balance sheets have come, then it has to come under clause 6. That's why I said, okay, provident fund ka question hai to go to 512. Understand? Okay, this is not working. Rajkumar? That it's working. Right. So what is clause 6? Fails to report a material misstatement. Okay. Then what is clause 7? Yes, a chartered accountant in practice is deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct if he does not exercise due diligence or is grossly negligent in the conduct of his professional duties. So what is said over here? A chartered accountant is required to perform his work with great skill, care and caution. He should be reasonably cautious and careful in the discharge of his professional duties. I've taught you so many standards on auditing in which we said, no, there should be proper DSR, direction, supervision, review. Yes, proper documentation of the work, sufficient, appropriate evidence to be obtained. बहुतेक खालून काहीतरी loose आहे. एकदा चालू झालं मग परत बंद. Right. So what is clause 6? Fails to report a material misstatement. And what is clause 7? Does not exercise due diligence or is grossly negligent in the conduct of his professional duties. So what is the masala of 712? It says accordingly a CA should perform his work with great skill, care and caution. You understand? He should be reasonably cautious and careful while discharging his professional duties. Right. Now, what does it say? Sometimes it may so happen, that a chartered accountant out of 10 vouchers, he missed out checking 1 voucher. You understand? Sometimes it may so happen that say out of 10 vouchers, he missed on checking 1 voucher. Whatever. So it says this can be considered as minor error and lapses. To the extent possible, this should also not be done. But little bit here and there, that does not amount to gross negligence. So what does it say? Minor error and lapses will not constitute gross negligence. But what happened? So out of 10 vouchers, if we fail to check 1, it says that we can understand. But out of 10 things which he came to know, 10 points which he checked at the client place, one thing was there was a fraud. Out of say some 10 things which he checked at the client place, one place there was a fraud, and that he did not report. It says this we cannot excuse. He could not perform his duties reasonably well. He could not perform the procedures. It says one time we can understand that. But he could not act honestly. He could not perform his duties well. It says that we cannot understand. You understand? The charge is one of inefficiency. An imputation of certain mental condition is always involved. You understand ना? तो एक बार तुम मुझे बोलते हो कि हाँ मैडम टुडे आई कुड नॉट डू दी होमवर्क सो आई कैन अंडरस्टैंड, बट तुम मुझे झूठ बोलते हो कि मैडम माई बुक इज विथ माई फ्रेंड, मैडम yesterday this happened, then that I cannot tolerate. You understand? Once you tell me honestly कि madam I couldn't do it, I'm very sorry, it is wrong on my part, I can understand. But you are saying, you know कि madam नहीं उसका जो reason है वो मेरा ही है, madam ये ऐसा. So that when you are not acting honestly, it says that amounts to gross negligence under clause 7 part 1 second schedule. More examples of gross negligence which they have given over here. Okay, last year you had checked the valuation of inventory at Geo Limited. So you say, "Kya, what boring yaar, every year check valuation of inventory." So what you did this year, you adopted arbitrary valuation of closing stock. And you did not do any checking of the inventory at the client place. This is gross negligence. And सबसे ज़्यादा institute को गुस्सा कब आता है? When does the institute get very angry under gross negligence? When the CA failed to examine the cash book. What does it say? When the CA, when the chartered accountant failed to examine the cash book. It says, boss, if you went for the audit, you didn't check the cash book. What did you do in the audit? You understand now, cash book is one of the basic document now, which we check in the audit. So fail to examine the cash book, fail to examine the bank passbook. It says that amounts to gross negligence. Then CA failed to examine the distinction between capital and revenue expenditure. Huge amount of revenue expenditure has been capitalized during the year. This is gross negligence. You should have checked the capitalization. Okay, what expenditure is being capitalized? What are they capitalizing? Huge amount of revenue expenditure has been capitalized and the CA did not point out the same. Again, what is that? Gross negligence. है ना, हलगर्जी पना. You understand? No, not performing your work properly, being very casual attitude in your work, chalta hai type of attitude, then that comes under clause 7, part 1, second schedule. Does not exercise due diligence. You remember IOC CPT? Integrity, objectivity, professional competence and due care. You're not performing your work with due care, does not exercise due diligence or is grossly negligent in the conduct of his professional duties. Is everybody getting that? Does not exercise due diligence or is grossly negligent in the conduct of his professional duties. An auditor has to perform his professional duties with great skill, care and caution. बहुत हुशारी से, बहुत carefully, very skillfully you have to do your work. He has to be reasonably cautious and careful. Minor error and lapses does not amount to gross negligence. I told you na, एक आध voucher इधर उधर, that is okay. Right, now few examples of gross negligence. And we had seen such a list of examples yesterday for 241. You remember illustrative examples, and number 16 they directly made a question and 2 illustrative examples to be given. Do you remember a few of those examples of 241? कल का disrepute का examples do you remember? Forges the will of his relative, okay? Does not reply to the letters of the public authorities, adopted coercive methods on a bank for obtaining the loan, makes a material misrepresentation. The income tax records of the client were found in the almirah of the home of the CA, uses the services of the article other than for professional practice, putting balloons. I told you, no? You understand? Misappropriation of funds. You understand the regional council, treasure khali, and a personal benefit of 50,000 from the tour. Do you remember those? Those were illustrative examples of disrepute. Now what are we going to see over here? Few examples of gross negligence. Okay. CA gave a clean report. So CA said true and fair. Whereas the reports on the special audit conducted subsequently revealed irregularities which amounted to failure to examine even the passbook and to verify the cash balance. I told you, no? Passbook you did not check. Cash balance you did not check. What you did in the audit. Next one. Arbitrary valuation of closing stock. And no verification at all was done by him. Failed to point out contraventions of requirements of Schedule 3. Right, so this arbitrary valuation of closing stock, they've already made a question in the exam. Schedule 3, they are yet to make a question in the exam. And failed to point out contravention of requirements of Schedule 3. So deferred tax asset and deferred tax liability have been shown separately. Advance tax and provision for tax have been shown separately. Is it right? Net out करके दिखाना पड़ता है ना. It is not right, no. Deferred tax asset, deferred tax liability, net करके दिखाना है. Advance provision, net करके दिखाना है. Can I show here on the asset side debtors and on the liability side provision for bad and doubtful debts? No. Again, it has to be shown net, no. Debtors less RDD. So when you fail to point out contraventions of Schedule 3, so it says, see, you don't check Schedule 3 compliance. Gross negligence. Right. Next one. Fail to detect a fraud committed by an accountant which could have been easily detected had he properly checked the cash book. I told you na, gusta kab aata hai? And when CA does not check the cash book. Next one, CA relied upon the internal controls without satisfying himself about the propriety and surrendered to the pressure of the management and certified the accounts without examining and getting the clarification. So again, this will remind you of 212. And what do you say? Surrender to the pressure of the management. And look at again last one, Jugadu CA. Yes, read. Two balance sheets on two different dates for the same year. First one with a clean report and second one with a qualified report. Isn't it? There are some people now who have multiple PAN cards. And there are some people now who have multiple PAN cards. So this company has multiple financial statements, all with different varieties of report. And what does he say? Issued a clean report and did not refer to the fact of having previously issued a qualified report, instead of which a clean report was being issued. Right. So that is again examples of gross negligence. Right. Question number 1. Ex-partner of Exxon Company CAs advised the managing director of True Limited to include in sales orders under negotiation to reflect a better financial position for obtaining a bank loan. Exxon Company are the internal auditors of the company. Comment on their liability. So what happened? They are doing the internal audit and for getting a bank loan. And what advice the auditor is giving to the managing director? Ki managing director, itna kam sales dikhaoge, no bank is going to give you a loan. So you better show your higher loans, all your orders, higher sales, all your orders under negotiation, that also you include in sales. And who is giving this advice? The internal auditors of the company. So rather, CA, what is your work? To strengthen the controls in the organization, to improve the transparency, to bring greater transparency in financial reporting. And here what work the CA is doing? He is giving advice to the management, Jugadu advice. You understand? Okay, you show all these orders under negotiation also in sales. Right. So what does it say? I told you, read the second line in the first para. Under all circumstances. Did you find that? I can't underline. Can you see it? Under all circumstances, it is expected that an accountant must act honestly and discharge his duties in a reasonable manner. I said, now honesty ko they say we have no excuse. Must act honestly and discharge his duties in a reasonable manner. X is liable since he has acted in a negligent manner and committed professional misconduct under 712. In this context, the Code of Conduct points out significantly that the charge is not one of inefficiency but of misconduct. I told you now, if one voucher you could not check, then I can understand. But you were dishonest, you were not truthful, then that we cannot understand. बहुतेक ते लूज झालं. बॅटरी तर आहे बहुतेक, पण थोड्या वेळाने बंद पडतं. मी इथेच थांबते. Right, so what does it say? In this context, the code of conduct points out significantly that the charge is not one of inefficiency but of misconduct. Imputation of certain mental condition is always involved. The test must always be whether in addition to the failure to do the duty, there has also been a failure to act honestly and reasonably. So you did not do your duty, that is one thing. You did not do your homework, that is one thing. And upar se you are telling me jhoot. That is what they are training over here, no? Do you understand? In addition to the failure to do the duty, there has also been a failure to act honestly and reasonably. Is everybody getting that? The advice given by X was not in conformity with the accounting practices and standards and was intentional to mislead the bank, to include all the orders under negotiation and sale. Therefore, X would be liable to disciplinary action even though he did not issue any written opinion. The fact that he is an internal auditor of the company makes his position more vulnerable. It says, internal auditor, you have to strengthen the controls in the organization, and you give such advices more vulnerable even though he is supposed to be responsible to the management. Right? So this is a very important masala over here now. Under all circumstances, it is expected that an accountant must act honestly and discharge his duties in a reasonable manner. The charge is not one of, yes, it's written in your books, no? The charge is not one of inefficiency but of misconduct. Imputation of certain mental condition is always involved. The test must always be whether in addition to the failure to do the duty, there has also been a failure to act honestly and reasonably. Are you getting that? Okay, right. Then come to next one. Mr. Brainy, same question, but now instead of the internal auditor, now he is the statutory auditor, RTP May 15. Brainy, a CA in practice, is the auditor of Fair Limited. He advised the managing director of the company to include orders under negotiation and sales to reflect higher profit and better financial position for obtaining bank loans in the future. Brainy thereafter gave clean reports on the balance sheet prepared accordingly without examining the accounts. Right, so what do they 712? And they also remember 241. You're bringing disrepute to the profession. What does it say? 712, and you giving such advice and giving a clean report. It says you are bringing also disrepute to the profession. So last line kya answer ka? Therefore, Brainy will be guilty for professional and other misconduct. Professional misconduct also and other misconduct also. Yes, very important question for us because it's only an RTP question. Right, read question number 3. The cashier of a company committed a fraud and absconded. Absconded matlab ran away with the proceeds thereof. This happened during the course of the accounting year. The chief accountant of the company also did not know about the fraud. In the course of the audit at the end of the year, the auditor failed to discover the fraud. After the audit was completed, the fraud was discovered by the chief accountant. Auditor did not exercise proper skill and care. Yes, did not exercise skill and care. Right, so what does it say? They've also made a reference to SA 240 in the answer. Can you see that as per SA 240? See over here in the middle of the answer. It can be concluded, yes, that the auditor did not plan and perform the audit with an attitude of professional skepticism. See, you know, for the fact that the cashier had absconded, it should have raised suspicion for the auditor, na कि यार ये अचानक से क्यों भाग गया, कुछ तो गड़बड़ है. And that's na, he should have been alert, questioning mind, and that he was not. So that is why gross negligence. As it appears from the facts of the case that the auditor did not exercise proper skill and care, and that he performed his work in a desultory and haphazard manner. In this matter, the test for the auditor's liability lies in whether he has applied reasonable care, skill and caution called for in the circumstances of the case, and whether he reasonably used all the information that he came across in the course of audit. Cash is a very significant item in any situation, and the fact that the cashier had left during the year without notice should have placed the auditor on alert as regards the cash book. And that was a ground of suspicion for the auditor. Why did the cashier run without any notice during the year? In fact, the very fact that the cashier was absconding, that is left without any notice, constituted sufficient circumstances to excite suspicion of the auditor to probe to the bottom. Then as per SA 240, this having regard to this fact and a fraud has actually taken place during the year committed by the absconding cashier, it is reasonable to think that prima facie there is a case against the auditor for gross negligence. And then they talk about clause 7, part 1, second schedule. As it appears, the auditor has been grossly negligent in performing his duties, which constitutes professional misconduct. Right, read question number 4. A CA in practice was alleged to have signed 2 balance sheets on 2 different dates for the same year. First one with a clean report and second one with a qualified report. And in a criminal proceeding, he made a statement before the magistrate that he had signed only the second balance sheet. ऊपर से झूठ बोल रहा है कि नहीं मैंने सिर्फ second ही sign किया था. पहले तो 2 balance sheet sign किया. ऊपर से he is telling कि no, I had signed only 1. Yes, gross negligence. So what does it say? It shows gross negligence. Right, read question number 5. B, a practicing CA, expressed his opinion on the financial statements of ABC for 2009. It was later found that closing stock was valued arbitrarily by the management, which was accepted by him without verification, and large amount of revenue expenditure was capitalized. Right, so arbitrary valuation, ये तो ऊपर examples में ही है ना, arbitrary valuation of closing stock. Right, so it is the duty of the auditor to bring to bear on the work he has to perform that skill, care and caution which a reasonably competent, careful and cautious auditor would use. In view of the above, B is to be held guilty of gross negligence in the conduct of his professional duties. Right, read question number 6. D, a practicing CA, did not complete his work relating to the audit of accounts of a company and had not submitted his audit report in due time to enable the company to comply with the statutory requirements. Right, so auditor ने अपना काम टाइम पे खत्म नहीं किया, इसके कारण कंपनी को आरओसी को 50,000 का पेनल्टी भरना पड़ा. एज एन एग्जाम्पल, ये अंडरस्टैंड ना होता है ना, ऐसे कोई सीए जिसके कारण कंपनी को भर भर के पेनल्टी भरना पड़ता है. You understand? So that's gross negligence. Right? So that is 712. Yes, it is a vital clause. Look at so much different masala in each case study. It is a vital clause which unusually gets attracted whenever it is necessary to judge whether the accountant was honestly and reasonably. Honesty bhi chahiye, reasonable discharge of duties bhi chahiye. The expression negligence covers a wide field and extends from the frontiers of fraud to collateral minor negligence. When the CA did not complete his work on time, it is guilty of professional misconduct, conduct clause 7, and therefore the auditor is guilty of professional misconduct. Right? So that is clause 7, part 1, second schedule. Does not exercise due diligence or is grossly negligent in the conduct of his professional duties. So what is 5? Fails to disclose a material fact. What is 6? Fails to report a material misstatement. What is 7? Does not exercise due diligence. And now I come to clause 8, part 1, second schedule. Right. To express an opinion on the financial statements, I require sufficient appropriate audit evidence. And what if I don't get sufficient appropriate audit evidence? Additional procedures. If I don't get, then qualified opinion or disclaimer of opinion depending upon the pervasiveness. So if I don't get evidence, should I issue unmodified opinion? If I don't get evidence, I should qualify or disclaim my opinion. So where a qualified or a disclaimer of opinion should have been issued by the auditor, but an unmodified opinion has been issued, then guilty of professional misconduct under 812. Fails to obtain sufficient information which is necessary for expression of opinion, or its exceptions are sufficiently material to negate the expression of an opinion. And now part 1, part 2. What is part 1? Fails to obtain sufficient information which is necessary for expression of opinion. So what type of information is necessary for expressing opinion? If it is a statutory audit, then sufficient appropriate audit evidence. And what if I don't get the evidence? No problem, issue qualified or disclaimer of opinion. But you didn't get the evidence, still you issued unmodified opinion, then you are going to be guilty of professional misconduct under 812. Is everybody getting what I am saying? The first part of 812 kya hai? Fails to obtain sufficient information which is necessary for expression of opinion. So without obtaining evidence, if you express an opinion, then you are guilty of professional misconduct under 812. And second part kya hai? Or its exceptions are sufficiently material to negate the expression of an opinion. You understand? Okay, let's try to understand this one. Say example, company के balance sheet asset side पे, just as an example, there is only one asset, investments. Rare possibility, but ऐसे ही अभी example के लिए I'm taking. कि company के balance sheet asset side पे there is only one asset, that is investment. And this investment is materially misstated. Now what have I written in my report? कि financial statements of Jio Limited are true and fair except for investments. तो users of financial statements को क्या लगेगा? कि सिर्फ इनके investment में problem है. Investment के अलावा जो भी asset है वो सब बराबर है. You understand ना? Say in example in your accounts there are 20 chapters. है ना? Say example in your account syllabus how many chapters are there? 20 chapters. And some uncle or auntie ask you, बेटा कितना पढ़ाई हो गया तुम्हारा अकाउंट्स का? I said, uncle मेरा ना सिर्फ 20 चैप्टर बाकी है. तो what the uncle will think कि हो गए 100-150 chapters. Out of that he is only to finish 20 chapters. Why you are telling सिर्फ 20 बाकी है? Tell now, nothing. I have done nothing till now. Why are you creating an exception? Rather, you should give a negation. Why are you saying except for investment? Say that nothing is right, no? Why are you saying except for 20 chapters? Say that you've done nothing, no? So that's the second part of 812. Or its exceptions are sufficiently material to negate the expression of an opinion. So don't create an exception, give a negation. That is what we are saying. Are you getting the second part of 812? Yes, what does it say? Or its exceptions are sufficiently material to negate the expression of an opinion. Say in the statutory audit you have used the work of internal auditors. Can you use the work of internal auditors? Yes, but CTBR continues to be responsible. But what you did not do the evaluation of the work of internal auditors. You didn't have time to do the evaluation of work of internal auditors. That is why in your report you have written financial statements are true and fair except for use of work of internal auditors. This is not the way out. You write that you have not evaluated the work of internal auditors. Why you are writing except for? So what does it say? Rather than creating an exception, you should have created a negation. That is 812. What is 812? Fails to obtain sufficient information which is necessary for expression of opinion, or its exceptions are sufficiently material to negate the expression of an opinion. Fails to obtain sufficient information which is necessary for expression of opinion, or its exceptions are sufficiently material to negate the expression of an opinion. Does everybody get that? Okay. What does it say? What if you don't get the sufficient appropriate evidence? Then it says no problem. You can give a disclaimer in no uncertain terms. And you always have an option to give a qualified or a disclaimer. What is the masala for 812? A CA should express his opinion about the truth and fairness of statement of accounts only after obtaining the required data and information. Only after obtaining the required data and information. He has to determine the extent to which information is required. It is expected of a CA to express his opinion only after examining the authenticity with reference to the information and explanation given to him. Right, let's read question number 1. A CA certified the circulation of a weekly magazine without examining the records and relevant documents. Right, without examining, है ना, certified. So पहला तो again life में what will happen with innocent children? The moment they see certified, they will go to 212. And what is 212? Certifies or submits in his name or in the name of his firm any report on examination of financial statements. Is this financial statements? No, this is a weekly magazine. So that is why it will come under 812. As per clause 8 part 1 second schedule. Now, Mr. K, the question given. The CA should not express his opinion. Very important masala of 812. Kya hai? CA should not express his opinion before obtaining the required data and information. Did you find any answer, everybody, in your own books? The CA should not express his opinion before obtaining the required data and information. What information should he obtain before certifying the circulation of a weekly magazine? He ought to verify the basic records such as the print order, the printer's bill, the number of copies sold and paid for, the number of copies returned unsold to ensure the correctness of the circulation figures. You understand, no? So now the CS Foundation audit book which you have, no, 19th edition. What is our print order? 3,000 books. Then we will get the printer's bill. Okay, these are the 3,000 books which we've printed. The number of copies sold. So out of that, how many copies we've sold and number of copies returned unsold. So by the time, say when the 20th edition comes, then we again call up the booksellers and for the new order. So that time they tell us, okay, last time we had bought 200 books. Out of that, 10 books are lying still. Or we had bought 500 books, 15 books are still lying with us. So that is number of copies returned unsold. Are you getting what I'm saying? To ensure the correctness of the circulation figures. So I've given you the example of a book, but this is a magazine, but similar one now. है ना कि प्रिंट ऑर्डर कि आपने कितने ऑर्डर है ना कितने मैगजीन्स का ऑर्डर दिया था फिर प्रिंटर का बिल आएगा कि दीज वर द नंबर विच यू हैड ऑर्डर्ड देन द नंबर ऑफ कॉपीज सोल्ड एंड पेड फॉर एंड द नंबर ऑफ कॉपीज रिटर्न अनसोल्ड टू एंश्योर द करेक्टनेस ऑफ द सर्कुलेशन फिगर्स thus in the present case K will be held guilty of professional misconduct. Right, read question number 2. X, the practicing CA, issued a circulation certificate for a periodical on the basis of outward memos which was found on later to be false. So again, without obtaining the sufficient information. So again, clause 8, part 1, second schedule. This indicates a CA must determine the extent of information. So they gave you outward memo and on that basis you gave the certificate. It says no. CA, you have to determine the extent of information which should be obtained before expressing an opinion. Right? Therefore, he is guilty of professional misconduct. Yes, question number 3. Read. Z, a practicing CA, issued a circulation of a periodical without going into the most elementary details of how the circulation of the periodical was being maintained. That is by not looking into the financial records, bank statement or bank passbook, by not examining evidence of actual payment of printer's bill, and by not caring to ascertain how many copies were sold and paid for. So this type of a question is a student-friendly question, na? All the points which should have been there in the answer have been incorporated in the question. Right? So clause 8, part 1, second schedule. Therefore, Z will be held guilty of professional misconduct. Right. Yes, read question number 4. A CA was the auditor of A Limited. During the financial year 7-8, the investment appeared in the balance sheet of the company at 10 lakh and was the same amount as in the last year. So, kitna investment dikh raha tha? 10 lakh, last year also 10 lakh. Later on, it was found that the company's investments were only 25,000. But the value of investments was inflated for the purpose of obtaining higher amount of bank loan. तो अभी तो अपने ऊपर भी देखा ना sales orders under negotiation included in sales. So that was also gross negligence. Right. So here what does it say? 1212. What is 212? Certifies without examining the related records. Then 712 does not exercise due diligence. And then clause 8 fails to obtain sufficient information. Right? So 212, 712 and 812. Accordingly, the CA will be held liable for professional misconduct under clause 2, clause 7, clause 8 of part 1 of second schedule to the Chartered Accountants Act. Right? So that is clause 8, part 1, second schedule. Right? Clause 8, part 1, second schedule. Now, for a chartered accountant to be guilty of professional misconduct under clause 9, part 1, second schedule, two things should have happened. For a chartered accountant to be guilty of professional misconduct under clause 9, part 1, second schedule, two things should have happened. What are the two things which should have been happened? One, he has not followed the standards on auditing. Yani I can say a broader term, generally accepted auditing principles, not accounting over here. Generally accepted audit procedures or generally accepted auditing principles. And second, he is also not invited attention to the material departure from the audit procedures. तो एक तो तुमने स्टैंडर्ड फॉलो नहीं किया, दूसरा तुमने अपने रिपोर्ट में भी नहीं लिखा है कि हमने स्टैंडर्ड नहीं फॉलो किया है, देन यू आर गिल्टी ऑफ प्रोफेशनल मिसकंडक्ट अंडर 912. If you don't follow the standard and you mention about it in your report, then it says no guilty. You have not followed the standard. You have also not mentioned in the report that you've departed from the requirement of the standard. Then you are guilty of professional misconduct under 912. Fails to invite attention to any material departure from the generally accepted audit procedures applicable to the circumstances. So if I don't follow standards on auditing, step 1. Second, I don't invite attention to the departure, step 2. Then step 3, guilty of professional misconduct under 912. I don't follow standard, but I mention in the report, then no guilty. I don't follow standard, I don't bring attention to the departure, then guilty of professional misconduct under clause 9, part 1, second schedule. So there is a legal backing to the standards, no? Guilty of professional misconduct under clause 9, part 1, second schedule. Is everybody getting that? Fails to invite attention to any material departure from the generally accepted audit procedures applicable to the circumstances. Are you getting? Clause part 1, second schedule में बहुत fail होते हैं. क्यों fail होता है? Fails to disclose the material fact, fails to report a material misstatement, fails to obtain sufficient information, fails to invite attention, and now fails to keep monies belonging to his client other than fees or remuneration in a separate banking account, and to use such monies for the purposes intended by the client within a reasonable time. है ना? तो 5 बार फेल होना पड़ता है पार्ट 1 सेकंड शेड्यूल में. Where do you have to fail? Yes, clause 5, fails to disclose the material fact, fails to report a material misstatement, fails to obtain a sufficient information, fails to invite attention, and fails to keep monies belonging to his client. in a separate banking account. Okay, right. So now coming to clause 10, part 1, second schedule. Right, so here again we have to see what is the misconduct and what is the exception. So now though very rare, if some client money would be there with you. Like earlier, now the online, NEFT and all, no need for client to give the money to the CA. But earlier, for paying their advance tax, for paying their service tax, for paying some property registration charges, the client used to hand over some money to the chartered accountant. So one thing, that chartered accountant, you had to keep the money in a separate banking account. If you don't keep the money in a separate bank account, then you are guilty of professional misconduct under 10(1)(2). Second, why had the client given you the money? To pay the service tax. Okay, what you did? You paid advance tax out of it. They told you कि हमारा service tax भरना. You said कि अरे नहीं, advance tax का भी date आ रहा था. That is why we paid the advance tax. Then also guilty of professional misconduct under 10(1)(2), because you have not used the money for the intended purposes, for the purposes which have been intended by the client. Okay, however, what is the exception? Money is received by the client in the form of fees or remuneration. Should that be put in a separate banking account? Yes, fees or remuneration, should that money go into a separate banking account? My God, what is wrong with this today? Right, fees or remuneration, should that money go into a separate banking account? No, that money will go into packet account. Even progressive basis fee received, okay, report to be signed on 25th of April. You got part of the fee on 20th of April. Will you put it in a separate banking account? No, even progressive basis fee received. Progressive basis fees, you understand? As and when the work gets over, you keep on recovering your fees from the client. Rather, that's the correct way to recover your fee from the client. Otherwise, after the assignment is done, most probably you will not get the money also. Right? So, fees or remuneration, no need to put in a separate banking account. And today, the client gave you 20 lakh rupees. Today, at 11 o'clock. And tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock, you have to pay the service tax or you have to pay the stamp duty. So do you need to put it in a separate bank account? Today they've given you the money and tomorrow you have to use it? No. So reasonable time usage, again in that case, you need not put it in a separate bank account. What is reasonable time? Depends upon the facts and circumstances of the case. But like, today you have received the fee and money from the client and tomorrow you have to use it, or in 2 days you have to use it, then no need to put it in a separate banking account. Are you getting that? What are the two misconduct and what are the two exceptions? Yes, fails to keep monies belonging to his client other than fees or remuneration in a separate banking account and to use such monies for the purposes intended by the client within a reasonable time. You understand? So purpose is intended by the client, and if it is to be used within a reasonable time, then it says it's okay if you don't put it in a separate banking account. You understand? Now, I may receive money from the client or money on behalf of the client. One, when I am working well as that receiver, liquidator, trustee, executor. You know those? Right. So I may receive money that time also now by liquidating the assets of the entity or so. This money, it says, should go into a separate bank account immediately. In case of this money, you are not going to wait for a reasonable time. From day one, money received as receiver, liquidator has to go into a separate bank account. So for receiver, liquidator, you won't say, let reasonable time get over or let me wait for a reasonable time and then I will put it into a separate bank account. This money from day one has to go into a separate banking account. And others, other than receiver liquidator, if you happen to get any money of the client, then it says for this you will apply the reasonable time ka concept. If it is not to be used within a reasonable time, then you will put it in a separate bank account. And if it is to be used within a reasonable time, then no need to put it in a separate banking account. And what is reasonable time depends upon the facts and circumstances of the case. Are you getting what I am saying? Receiver liquidator, day one, it has to go into a separate bank account. And other than that, if you happen to have any money of the client, if not to be used within a reasonable time, then you need to put it in a separate banking account. And advance fees received from the clients, do you have to put it in a separate banking account? No, it need not be put in a separate banking account. Does everybody understand what I tell you? Right. So what is clause 10.1.2? Fails to keep monies belonging to his client other than fees or remuneration in a separate banking account and to use such monies for the purposes intended by the client within a reasonable time. Okay, right. Now, so 10 clients have given me money. So for each client I should have a separate bank account, or for all clients I should have one bank account? All clients you can have one account, but separate account. Now, obviously, if I keep it in the current account, there is no question of any interest or so on it. But say on savings or little bit, interest I get on that money, which I have kept in a separate banking account. So that interest income on that client money, business income, other income, है ना, interest अगर आया, वो जो client का money you've kept it in a separate banking account, if you get any interest on the same. See, you should not take so much time to give the answer. I'm teaching you ethics, so you have to give it to the client. You understand, no? Arey, you are taught na proportionate basis, weighted. You know na calculations, interest and Excel will do it for you. Proportionate basis, you have to distribute it amongst all the clients. Current account में ही डालेंगे, so no question of interest and all. Very rare, that interest will come. But then if you get, so students' mind starts saying, other income. No. But I'm teaching you ethics, okay? So you better give it back to the client. अपने को किसी का पैसा क्या करना है? It never is useful for us. दे देने का, जिनका उनका है वो. Never to keep. Okay, right? हाँ? अच्छा हाँ, ये सीए के पास से पैसे वापस भी मिलते हैं. ओके, राइट. सो क्लॉज 10 पार्ट 1 सेकंड शेड्यूल fails to keep monies of his client other than fees or remuneration or money meant to be expended in a separate banking account, or to use such monies for the purposes for which they are intended within a reasonable time. Fails to. Right? And what are the exception? Fees and remuneration and reasonable time usage. Okay. Right. Now read the question, the point over here. A member while working as a financial advisor, and so MCOS, financial advisor, misappropriated the funds of his client by way of converting a savings bank account in his individual name to that of a joint account with the client. He's telling client, it's becoming very difficult for me to give you financial advice. So my savings account, I'll make it joint account with you. You keep on depositing money over there. Without his consent, and fraudulently discharged 3 fixed deposit receipts in the client's name. So joint account he converted and he discharged 3 fixed deposit receipts. So pehle to he did not keep the money in a separate banking account. And second question, CA did like this. You remember yesterday, disrepute to the profession, no? Bringing disrepute to the profession. Right. Next one, I've already clarified these points to you. Advance received by a CA does not fall under 10.1.2. Money received for purchase of payment of prescribed statutory fees, purchase of stamp paper, which are intended to be spent within a reasonably short time, need not be put in a separate banking account. What is reasonable time depends upon the circumstances. And money received for expenses which to be incurred, which are not intended to be spent within a reasonably short time, should be put in a separate bank account immediately. कि today you got the money and you know कि next 20 days you're not going to require this money. At that moment you need to put it in a separate banking account. And money received as trustee, executor, liquidator must be put in a separate bank account immediately. I've already told you that. Okay, I've already told you that point, no? Receiver, liquidator, separate bank account immediately, and others you need to wait for a reasonable time. If it's within reasonable time, no need to put it in a separate bank account, otherwise you need to put it in a separate banking account, right? Read question number 1. A charitable institution that is also there. You cannot do portfolio management. Right, so if a CA in practice fails to keep monies belonging to his client or fails to use such monies for the purpose which they are intended, then it would amount to professional misconduct under 10(1)(2). In the course of his engagement as a professional accountant, a member may be entrusted with monies belonging to his client. If he should receive such funds, it would be his duty to deposit them in a separate banking account and to utilize such funds only in accordance with the instructions of the client or for the purposes intended by the client in the given case, and therefore Ram and company will be held guilty of professional misconduct. And you can also make a passing reference to 2 to 4. And a management consultancy and other services. Right, next one, read question number 2. XYZ, a firm of CAs, received 2 lakh in January 2006 on behalf of one of their client who has gone abroad and deposited the money in their bank account so that they can return the money to the client in July when he is due to return to India. January to July, is it reasonable time? Should they keep it in their bank account, 2 lakh rupees? No, they should have put it in a separate banking account. And that is why it amounts to professional misconduct under clause 10, part 1, second schedule. Right? Question number 3. After remitting the first installment, he did not keep the balance money in a separate bank account, and he is of the opinion he will remit the money within reasonable time as per the payment schedule of advance tax. So is the payment schedule reasonable? No, so he has to keep it again in a separate banking account. So that should have kept the balance money after remitting the first installment into a separate bank account. फिर उसके ऊपर क्या लिखा है? The term reasonable time would depend upon the circumstances of the case. Monies which are intended to be spent within a reasonably short time need not be put in a separate banking account. Right. Question number 4. ABC, a firm of CAs, received 2 lakh in March 2014 from a client to pay the advance tax. However, the firm has used that money for its own purpose and later on adjusted the same with the outstanding fee payable. Best. You understand? I use the money for own purpose and बाद में बोले वो fee के against adjust कर दिया. Right? So again, guilty of professional misconduct under clause 10, part 1, second schedule. And question number 5, only an RTP question. So more important for us. Read question number 5. And return the entire amount of 15 lakh to the client in March. Yes, did not use it for the purposes intended. So again, guilty of professional misconduct under clause 10, part 1, second schedule. Right, so that is the entire part 1, second schedule. है ना? That is the entire part 1 second schedule. Right? So part 1 second schedule, how many clauses are there? 10 clauses. Breach of confidentiality, CAs in practice, certifies without examining the records, vouches for the accuracy of forecast, expresses opinion where substantial interest is involved, fails to disclose a material fact, fails to report a material misstatement, grossly negligent, fails to obtain sufficient information, fails to invite attention to material departure from audit procedures, and fails to keep monies in a separate banking account. So actually part 1 second schedule mein more effort is required. You know, part 1 first schedule, so we can remember like this: practice by non-CA, sharing, accepting, partnership, canvassing, soliciting, advertising, NOC 139. That doesn't happen over here. And then over a period of time, what is the problem with students have? They say, madam, first schedule I know now, second schedule mera bhi itna achhi se nahi hua hai. You know, so that also happens. So, you know, one time what you should do first, when 2-3 times you'll at least study ethics. No. So first time when you study, first you do first schedule, then you do second schedule. Second time what to do? First to do second schedule and then to come to the first schedule. You understand? So that second schedule also gets its required attention. Okay, so part 1 second schedule. Breach of confidentiality, CAs in practice, certifies without examining records, vouches for accuracy of forecast, expresses opinion where substantial interest is involved, fails to disclose a material fact, fails to report a material misstatement, does not exercise due diligence or is grossly negligent, fails to obtain sufficient information, fails to invite attention, and fails to keep monies belonging to the client in a separate banking account. Right, so that is the part 1 second schedule. Okay, so now I will come to the part 2 second schedule. Yes, part 2 second schedule. Right, what is part 2 second schedule? Part 2 second schedule, professional misconduct generally. है ना, professional misconduct generally. So chartered accountant, whether in practice or not, shall be deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct if he, right? Pay attention, no writing with me. First you need to understand. Okay, yesterday I told you, okay, I received a letter from the institute asking me how many articles are registered under you. So what I did, I didn't reply only to the letter of the institute. So does not supply the information called for or does not comply with the requirements asked for by ICAI and or its functionaries. So guilty of professional misconduct under clause 2 part 3 first schedule. Okay, now as per the regulations of the institute, depending upon the years of experience, maximum how many articles you are allowed to take? 10. But what I did, I took 12 articles. How many articles you are allowed to take? 10. How many articles I took? 12 hours. How many hours is your boss allowed to make an article work in office? 35 hours per week. Your boss made you work 40 hours per week. You understand? He made you work 40 hours per week. How much is the minimum stipend to be paid to you per month? 1500 rupees per month. Your boss is paying you 600 rupees per month. Whatever. So 600. I said lower than that also. No? So he is paying you 600 rupees per month. So there are some regulations of the institute. You understand how many articles you are allowed to take, how much stipend is to be paid to article, how many hours are you allowed to make the article work. Mainly I talk about all the article related stuff over here. And what happened? How many articles I'm allowed to take? 10. And how many articles did I take? 12. So did I not contravene the provisions of the Act or the regulations made there under or any guidelines issued by the Council? Have I not contravened the provisions of the Act and the regulation? Then I am guilty of professional misconduct under clause 1, part 2, second schedule. Contravenes any of the provisions of this Act or the regulations made there under or any guidelines issued by the Council. What does it say? Contravenes any of the provisions of this Act or the regulations made there under or any guidelines issued by the Council. Yes, don't write anything. Please pay attention first. That is clause 1, part 2, second schedule. That is what? Contravenes. Now, how many articles I am allowed to take? 10. How many did I take? 12. Okay, so if I don't reply to the letter of the institute, I'm guilty under 231. And anyways, I have contravened. So I am guilty under 122. But now again and again letter is coming. So I thought, now let me reply once. So I sent a reply to the institute. But in the reply, I have written that I have only 10 articles registered under me. False information to ICAI, that is guilty of professional misconduct under clause 3 part 2 second schedule. Clause 3 part 2 second schedule, false particulars. In any information statement return or form, IFRS, in any information form return or statement to be submitted to ICAI and or its functionaries. You know the functionaries, no? We saw yesterday. Council or any of its committees, director discipline, board of discipline, disciplinary committee, quality review board, appellate authority. In any information form, return or statement to be submitted to ICAI and or its functionaries provides particulars knowing them to be false. Provides any particulars, provides any particulars knowing them to be false. यानी कि giving false information to ICAI. तो एक टाइम इंस्टीट्यूट को नहीं जवाब दिया तो परवड़ता है. You understand? Because at least you are guilty of professional misconduct under the first schedule. But institute के साथ तुमने झूठ बोला. Then clause 3 part 2 second schedule. So these are the 3 clauses related to ICAI which you need to remember along with the 3 examples which I've just given you. What are the 3 examples I gave you? Institute sent me a letter, I don't reply, 231. I'm allowed to take 10, I took 12 articles, 122. And I have 12 articles, but I replied to the institute telling that I have only 10 articles registered with me, then 322. Say every day I am on an average teaching at AS Foundation, say for 5 hours. An institute asked me how many hours are you teaching at AS Foundation per day? And if I reply I'm teaching for 2 hours, then again guilty of professional misconduct under clause 3 part 2 second schedule. Are you getting that? Yes, so those are the 3 clauses related to ICAI. Okay. Right, copy down this much at least. See, it starts working. Right, so before it stops working again, let me write first. Okay, right. Breach of confidentiality, CAs in practice. Where is he guilty of professional misconduct? Breach of confidentiality for CAs in practice. Where is he guilty of professional misconduct? 112. है क्या नहीं? 112, breach of confidentiality, CAs in practice. You are a CA in service and all the details of your employer, say you're working in Infosys, you're a CA in service, and all the details of your employer which you're not required to tell, not required by law, no given permission by the client, but still you're disclosing the secrets of your employer to outsiders, then CA in service for breach of confidentiality, you are guilty of professional misconduct under 222. You understand? Breach of confidentiality, CA in service. Breach of confidentiality, CA in service. हाँ
जनरल क्लॉज में स्पेसिफिक नहीं आ गया.
आ गया, but then वही ना, rather than creating a separate part, they've put it over here. If CA in practice का तो 112 में है ही. And what happened? CA they made the treasurer, and what treasurer did? Treasure khali. That is what? Defalcates or embezzles money received in professional capacity. That is 422, clause 4, part 2, second schedule. And this is the part 2, second schedule. Contravenes any of the provisions of this act or the regulations made thereunder or any guidelines issued by the council. Being an employee of any company, firm or person, discloses information regarding his employer to any person unless required by law or taken prior consent of the employer. Right? Then in any IFRS information form, return or statement to be submitted to ICAI and or its functionaries provides particulars knowing them to be false. Right? And defalcates, embezzles money received in professional capacity. So that is 422. Okay. Disrepute.
The last one, won't it be related to the
Disrepute, yes, certainly. That is what I was going to say. Okay, whenever it is 422, you are bringing disrepute to the profession. So 241 is going to come over there. Okay. So the part 2 second schedule clauses are over. Now, tell me gross negligence, CAs in practice? Grossly negligent, CAs in practice? 712. Gross negligence, CAs in service? Clauses are over. You're working in a company and my God, doesn't look by any angle like it's a chartered accountant working. Grossly negligent in the conduct of his professional duties. Grossly negligent. Then, yes, gross negligence for CAs in service is given by way of a notification. And any notification of ICAI not followed, guilty of professional misconduct under clause 1, part 2, second schedule here. So, under 122, I'm going to discuss a list of notifications with you. And after I finish discussing the 34 clauses, again I'm going to discuss a list of notifications with you. And any of the notifications not followed, where are you guilty of professional misconduct? 122. Just to give you a simple example for that one. How many tax audits are allowed to be taken each CA? 60 tax audit assignments. This is given by ICAI by way of a notification. So I took 62 tax audits. Where am I guilty of professional misconduct? Clause 1, part 2, second schedule. So any notifications of ICAI not followed, guilty of professional misconduct under clause 1, part 2, second schedule. So gross negligence, CAs in practice 712, CAs in service 122. Why? Because it is given by way of a notification. And part 3, second schedule, I hope you already know. Yes, part 3, second schedule, do you already know that one? Imprisonment for more than 6 months. Right, so these are the 34 clauses. Right, so now you copy down this, part 2, second schedule, and the ICAI ka 3 clauses. Right, the ICAI ka 3 clauses and this chart. Breach of confidentiality and gross negligence ka chart. Yes, are you all getting? Will you remember these 3 examples of ICAI? What are the 3 examples? And now institutes asked me how many articles are registered under you. I don't reply. 231. I am allowed to take 10 articles. I take 12 articles. 122. And I have 12 articles registered under me. But I am telling that I am having only 10 articles. Then 322. Giving false particulars to ICAI. In any IFRS. What is IFRS? Information form, return or statement to be submitted to ICAI and or its functionaries provides any particulars knowing them to be false. Yes, everybody, are you writing? 122, 222, 322 and 422. Yes, anything if you don't understand, please ask. You get 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 2, na? Matlab it is clause, part and schedule.
रियलिटी में होता है क्या कि जो आर्टिकल्स के बारे में जो टाइमिंग वगैरह है
विद प्रूफ कंप्लेन लगा दोगे
Tomorrow when you become principal also it will be the same.
वो तो बात है इसमें कोई बात नहीं है
No.
भाई तो छुट्टी नहीं मिली
ऐसा होता ही नहीं है. So now you have 2 sticks to tell your boss, no? Boss 2, 4, 1 and 1, 2, 2. And one bringing disrepute and second contravenes. But you get OT, no? Overtime ka you get extra leave, no? See, one who has to pass, na, he will pass in 4 months ka, 2.5 months ka study also. And one who has to fail, na, even by studying for 8 months, by doing 3 classes and 4 books also, he'll fail. So I doesn't mean that more you study, you fail. But I'm just telling you, it's not only regarding, just these are secondary things. Okay, how much time you get, what classes have you done, which book have you referred to. That is secondary. Main is your approach, your sincerity, your discipline towards study. That matters the most. You understand? People like for say audit also. Across the country there are teachers who are taking classes. There are so many books available. There are students who are studying it by themselves. So they also pass. No? So there is nothing like that, like for accounts, for any subject for that matter. So any book you pick up, you are going to pass. And any book you pick up, if you have to fail, you are going to fail. So the difference is to be made by you. We are just what you say, a contributing factor, just helping you on the path. You understand? No? So only hard work nahi, matlab aise donkey work is not required. You just logging is, so that is, so it happens naturally. But in being in the right direction, being in your senses, being dedicated, being able to manage the pressure, that is more important. You understand? No, studying for 14 hours a day, continuously for 4 to 5 months is not a joke. You understand? No, normal people too will go crazy, studying for so much, and others become chartered accountants. You understand? No. So normally it's like beyond capacity, yeah, sitting at one place 14 hours a day. You understand? I remember my time, 7 o'clock I used to come in the library, lunch 5 minutes. And tea, coffee, though I wouldn't used to have only that time. So lunch 5 minutes. Little bit of breakfast, 1 or 2 minutes sitting over there in the library. Never talking to anyone, not going with lunch, no discussing problem with anyone, nothing. Yes, until, again, in the afternoon, I remember 4:30, every day I used to get one apple. That I used to eat alone only. I wouldn't used to spend time talking with anyone. I used to come out of the library, eat the apple, again go back. Then with all that, full day it used to go on, 7 to raat ko 9 o'clock tak. And I was so busy. Because, managing 8 subjects and 4.5 months leave. And then 9 o'clock I used to go home, then I used to check. I used to only take a stock of the situation. Okay, today's day mein what all I have finished, what is to be carry forward, what extra for tomorrow, what books I need to take tomorrow, what is my plan for tomorrow. 15-20 minutes after going home, I used to analyze that. By 10:30, I used to go off to bed. Again in the morning, same thing. Again 7 o'clock to the library and again 9 o'clock at home. And the process was that, the outcome of the process was that I became a chartered accountant. Now I can share it with you because I've gone through that experience. And I know, okay, once you put in the effort, the dedication, then the results come out. So you just, ekdam, sincerity say go, keep on doing your work. Right. So what does it say? The part 2 second schedule. What is part 2 second schedule? Professional misconduct in relation to the members of the institute generally. ये तो अभी आपको पता होगा. A member of the institute, whether in practice or not, shall be deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct if he contravenes any of the provisions of this act or the regulations made there under or any guidelines. So we said now PRG, provisions, regulations and guidelines. Contravenes any of the provisions of this act or the regulations made there under or any guidelines issued by the council. And few of the regulations which are generally contravened are all those related to the article. Look at the list. Engagement of article, registration of article, very, very important, regulation 47, premium from article. Old times, now it doesn't happen. Acha, you want your son to do articleship with me? Oh, you'll have to give a 50,000 deposit. You will have to give me a 5 lakh rupees ka interest-free loan, then I will take for articleship. If you do that, then guilty of professional misconduct under clause 1, part 2, second schedule. You understand? You need to check whether the premium, loan, deposit or in any other form which has been accepted from the article directly or indirectly, whether it is related to the engagement of the article. Right? We are going to see a lot of case studies for this one. Premium from article. Regulation 47. Very, very important. Stipend to article. I told you, na, 600 rupees per month, 150 rupees per month. You don't get 150 rupees per month? Okay, right, usse to zyada hi milta hai. Okay, so if you get lower than the rate which has been stipulated by ICAI, if your boss pays you lower than that rate, then that is guilty of professional misconduct under, yes, 122 because you're contravening regulation 48. Now what is given in the regulation? Example, I am taking 1500 rupees per month. And what one boss was doing? He was paying 1500 into 12. 18,000 rupees on an annual basis. He said that the rate, it's at 18,000 now, it says on an annual basis. Okay, what was he saying over there? Okay, this I am going to pay him, though the rate here is given on a monthly basis, I am going to pay him on an annual basis. What does it say? That the regulations only prescribe the rate per month. It doesn't say the periodicity that it is also to be paid per month. Is it so? He says that the regulations are only saying the rate of payment per month, but it is not necessarily that it has to be paid per month. No, it is also to be paid per month. So if you pay your stipend the entire year ka stipend on an annual basis, again it is guilty of professional misconduct under 122. And what happened? The institute came to know this. This particular chartered accountant, he is paying stipend to his articles on an annual basis. Say the articleship started, say example, on 1st of February 2015. You understand? And say on 2nd of April 2016, the institute came to know this. You know, 1st of February 2014, say the articleship started, and say on 2nd of April 2016, the institute came to know this. So the moment the principal came to know that the institute ko pata chal gaya that I am paying on an annual basis, not on a monthly basis, he called that article. Article, come here. Okay, sign this agreement. What is written in this agreement? Okay, you have agreed with me that it is okay if I pay stipend to you on a annual basis rather than on a monthly basis. When was this agreement entered into between the principal and the article? On 2nd of April 2016. But what date has been written in the agreement? 1st April 2014. Agreement enter कब हुआ? 2016 में. But date कब का डाला? 2014 का. So it says, my God, it is so reprehensible that a practicing CA will try to fabricate evidence in support of the defense. It says, CA, तुम अगर ऐसे antedated agreement वगैरह बनाने लग गए, तो what you will check at the client place? If you start creating and getting signed such antedated agreement from those innocent small bachas, You understand? Then what do you say? What are you representing to the profession? And how are you representing the profession in that case? Fabricating evidence in support of the defense. That's the wording which the institute has used. Fabricating evidence in support of the defense. He's forging now. He's making unauthorized changes. He's entering into antedated agreement with the article and all. And the stipend to article, that is regulation 48. Termination, article not to engage in other occupation, complaint against the employer, audit assistant, register of office, CAs not to engage in any other business or occupation. You know regulation 190A? Permission granted generally and permission to be taken specifically. Yaad hai kya? And private tutorship, authorship of books and articles, attending classes and appearing for any examination, permission granted generally. And teaching in any other coaching organization other than the institute, editorship of other than professional journals, permission to be taken specifically. Then part-time employment CAs may accept and restriction on the fees. Right, come to the High Court decisions. A CA certified that an audit clerk was in service with him while he was also employed elsewhere from 11 to 5 and attended the CA's office thereafter until 8. He was guilty of making a misstatement to the institute. Yani ki again, who? Dummy article. You know what he certified? Yes, this fellow, he's working to me from 11 to 5, but actually he was working elsewhere. So again, contravened. CA took a loan. Ye to big problem, huh? CA took a loan from a firm in which the article clerk and the father were interested, are against the provision of the CA regulations as which prohibits taking a loan or deposit from an article clerk guilty of professional misconduct. CA had an agreement to pay his article on an annual basis. I told you this now, annual basis stipend. What did he say? That regulation 48 did not prescribe the periodicity of payment, but only the rate at which the stipend is to be paid. So what he's saying, it's okay if I pay to him on a monthly basis, on an annual basis, rather than on a monthly basis. CA received 2,000 by way of security from the complainant's father for taking him as an article clerk. Rishwat, hai na, 2,000 rupees for taking as an article. And this I told you, na, that antedated letter and all. And held that the letter taken from the article would not be relied upon as it was antedated. Did everybody find that? And it was not written on the date it purported to be. The CA was found guilty of professional misconduct under the clause. It is observed that very reprehensible that a practicing CA should try to fabricate evidence in support of the defense. And getting such antedated agreement signed from the Masum Bachas. And antedated agreements. Right, and CA did not pay stipend to the article in accordance with the regulation. Then, article clerk was asked to work in excess of the prescribed working hours. More than 35 hours per week. So, all that is guilty of professional misconduct under Clause 1, Part 2, Second Schedule. What is Clause 1, Part 2, Second Schedule? Contravenes any of the provisions of this Act or the regulations made thereunder or any guidelines issued by the Council. Right, read question number 1. Mr. Brilliant, a practicing CA, received a major professional assignment. To complete the assignment, he was required to buy 4 computers. Due to his inability to provide funds for acquiring the same, he borrowed money from a firm where one of the article and the father were interested. What will be the CA's liability? What did he do? He borrowed money from a firm where the article and the father. You know, whenever article and father, article and daddy, article and papa comes, that time it is 1 to 2. Understand? That time my pen was not working. That's why I forgot to write it. So what did I tell you? Whenever provident fund comes, it is 512. Then, whenever these periodicals and magazines come, it is 812. Fails to obtain sufficient information. And wherever the articles and sometimes also their father comes into picture, loan, then it is 1 to 2. You understand? Provident fund, periodicals and magazines, and the articles. here. Yes. Done? Right. So what does it say? Took a borrowed money from a firm where the article and the father were interested. So what happened? Yes, he got a big assignment. He wanted 4 computers. That is why he borrowed funds. Okay, but does it look like the article was already doing articleship over there and then he took the money for buying the computers? Was the engagement of article subject to the providing of funds? Was it directly related? Was it told to the article, if you give this much funds only then to buy the computer, then I will allow you to do articleship under me? No. So that is why prima facie looking at the case, it doesn't look like he is guilty of professional misconduct. Yes, we'll read the entire answer. Mr. Brilliant had taken a loan to buy 4 computers from a firm where an article and father were interested. Regulation 47 of the CA Act. Okay, you have to remember Regulation 47. What is Regulation 47? No amount shall be charged from or be payable by an article clerk or any other person on his behalf, directly or indirectly, whether by way of premium, loan, deposit, or in any other form, in connection with his engagement as an article clerk. Premium, loan, deposit, or in any other form in connection with his engagement as an article clerk. Therefore, accepting a loan from an article clerk in case of an engagement of an article clerk is prohibited under the regulations. This Brilliant will be held guilty of professional misconduct if it can be proved that the engagement of article is dependent upon this fact. As it appears from the facts of the case is that the article has already been engaged and serving his articles. And this normally Brilliant will not be held guilty of professional misconduct under Part 2 of second schedule. Because it's not subject to, no, if you give the loan, I'll take you for articleship. It's that he is already doing his articleship and then the loan has been taken. So then no guilty of professional misconduct. Is everybody understanding? Right. Yes, read question number 2. A CA in practice who was entitled to take not more than 5 articles had already taken 5, represented to X that he still had a vacancy and induced him to enter into articles with it. So how many are allowed to take? यहाँ पे क्या दिया है? No, entitled to take not more than 5. How many are you allowed to take? This particular A, 5. How many he has taken? 6, no? Had already taken 5, represented to X that he still had a vacancy and induced him to enter into articles with him. Arey, be awake thoda. Be alert, what am I asking you? A formal deed was executed. A subsequently cancelled the article of the 5th article clerk for irregular attendance without reference to the institute. Explain whether an A can be deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct. Yes. So clause 1, part 2, second schedule. Right. In the instant case, the CA had misrepresented to a person that he had a vacancy and induced him to enter into articles. He cancelled the articles for irregular attendance without reference to the institute. Therefore, CA has contravened the provisions of Regulation 43 and is guilty of professional misconduct. Right? Read question number 3. Lot of questions we have under 122. K, a CA not in practice. Oh, not in practice, huh? CA in service was employed by Do Well Limited as on a salaried basis as Chief Internal Auditor to be in charge of internal control and internal audit department of the company. That there were omissions to record cash sales and collection from debtors, and these statements attested by the Chief Internal Auditor were all either untrue or false. So I've already taught you, na, gross negligence CAs in service. 122. I told you, na, it's given by way of a notification. Ye dekho yahan pe. I told you, na, this chart we had drawn, no? Gross negligence, CAs in service. Do you remember? Gross negligence, CAs in practice 712 and CAs in service 122 because it's given by way of a notification. Right, so first you're going to write down clause 1, part 2, second schedule. Then what is the notification of the council? A member of the institute who is an employee. Has everybody found it in your books? Who is an employee will be guilty of professional misconduct if he is willfully and grossly negligent in the conduct of his duties of such employee, as per the facts of the case, and therefore he will be guilty of professional misconduct only if he is willfully and grossly negligent in the performance of his duties. No, you don't have to remember the numbers, but you just have to remember that there has been a notification issued for the same. Right, so I am going to cover a lot of notifications right now in the case studies itself. So one I have already covered. And a notification with regard to gross negligence for CAs in service. Right, read question number 4. X, a practicing CA. Yes, read very carefully. Learn to grasp the question. Learn to absorb the words. Become intelligent. Sharpen your skills. Again, dummy, na? One, two. Okay, 1, 2, 2. And?
3, the wrong information.
झूठ भी तो बोल रहा है ना इंस्टीट्यूट के साथ. So 3, 2, 2 will also come. And 1, 2, 2 will also come. 3, 2, 2 ना? हाँ 3, 2, 2. ये क्या है यहाँ पे? False particular. हाँ? 1, 2, 1, 3, 2 क्यों? हाँ 1, 2, 2. हाँ and 3, 2, 2. Okay, why are you saying 1, 3, 2? Right, 1, 2, 2 and 3, 2, 2. You understand? 1, 2, 2. एक तो your contravene. The regulations. And second, it says alternative solution is also possible under 3, 2, 2. Right? So 1, 2, 2. The CA, as per the regulations, is expected to impart proper practical training. There is a specific circular which issues guides on the timing for training of articles. In the instant case, under the circumstances, the CA is guilty of making a misstatement to the institute in regard to the discharge of his professional duties. Right, so that is clause 1, part 2, second schedule, and also clause 3, part 2, second schedule. Okay, I'll just discuss one notification with you, then we'll see the case study. If you are doing the audit of a listed company, or if you're doing the audit of any public company, yes, public sector undertakings, PSUs, or if you're doing the audit of the government companies, or if you are doing the audits of other companies having a turnover of more than or equal to 50 crore, pay attention to what I am saying. If you are the statutory auditors of the following 4, which following 4? Listed companies, public sector undertakings, government companies or other companies having a turnover of more than 50 crore. And you are doing the statutory audit for these companies. And say your stat audit fees is 20 lakh. And the same client, say example, let me take of ONGC, which is a government company. Example ke liye. So you are doing the statutory audit of ONGC. How much is your stat audit fee? 20 lakh. Example I am taking. And now this ONGC also wants to appoint you for some MCOS, management consultancy and other services. Maximum MCOS fees which you can accept from ONGC is 20 lakh. For clients for whom you are doing the statutory audit, MCOS fees should not exceed the stat audit fees. And this was rather old. Up to new company law kya bolta hai? Section 144, auditor not to render certain services. Management services, other services, statutory auditor not allowed only. पहले एटलीस्ट इंस्टीट्यूट ने क्या बोला था कि MCOS fee should not exceed stat audit fees. वो बोलते हैं, why you want to get all work done from your statutory auditor only? There are so many other CA firms. Get the work done from them. So that is why they had put a restriction. कि MCOS fee should not exceed the stat audit fees. So how much is your stat audit fee? 20 lakh. Example. So maximum MCOS, how much you can provide to ONGC? 20 lakh. And if it exceeds 20 lakhs, so you're providing MCOS of 1 crore to ONGC, then you are guilty of professional misconduct under 122. Did you understand the notification? Okay, now look at the case study. A is the auditor of Z Limited, which has a turnover of 200 crore. Is the notification applicable? Yes. Is the notification applicable? Yes, turnover of more than 50 crore now. The audit fee for the year is fixed at 50 lakh. During the year, the company offers A an assignment of management consultancy within the meaning of 224 for a remuneration of 1 crore. How much is the audit fee? 50 lakh. How much ka MCOS? 1 crore. Maximum how much MCOS you can provide? 50 lakh. So have they contravened the regulation? The notification of ICAI? Yes. So that is why guilty of professional misconduct under 122 because contravenes. समझ रहा है ना? I told you ना a few of the notifications I'm going to study in the case study only. है ना? Should not exceed MCOS fees should not exceed the stat audit fees. ये लिखा है ना मैंने यहाँ पे. Yes, MCOS fees should not exceed the stat audit fees. Is everybody getting that? If you're doing the statutory audit of listed companies, PSUs, government companies and the other companies having a turnover of 50 crore or more. Right. Yes, read question number 6. E, proprietor of E and company, is the statutory auditor of a company which owns a store dealing in computer equipment. During the year 11-12, he purchased a computer from the store costing 25,000 rupees for his son. Is the statutory auditor and he purchased a computer for his son from a store. He did not make any payment for the same, but asked the company to adjust the same against the audit fees payable of 50,000. So he is an auditor of a company, computer equipment का दुकान है उनका, तो वहां से उठा के अपने बेटे के लिए कंप्यूटर लेके आ गया और बोलता है ये फी के अगेंस्ट एडजस्ट कर लेना. तो पहले तो ओल्ड कंपनी लॉ है ना, when November 2012 this question was asked, that time तो he was disqualified because what is 1,000 na? That time the limit of indebtedness was how much? 1,000. You understand now? Old company law. What was the 226 subsection 3? What was the limit of indebtedness over there? 1,000 rupees. And it says indebted exceeding rupees 1,000, whether it is even in the normal terms of business. You understand? So old company law, so he was disqualified under the Companies Act, where the limit was 1,000. But now Companies Act 2013 has increased the limit of indebtedness from 1,000 to 5 lakh. You know this, no, now? Right. So that is why as per the Companies Act now, is he disqualified? No. So what does it say? This provision will be applicable in case of purchase of computer for his son or for his own personal work on the normal terms and condition if the amount outstanding at the end of the year exceeds the prescribed limit, which is 5 lakh. What is the prescribed limit now? 5 lakh. Accordingly, he is not disqualified to be appointed as an auditor of the company as he is indebted to the company for an amount not exceeding 5 lakh. Thus, he will not be held liable for guilty of professional misconduct. So sometimes, you know, even in the Chartered Accountants Act, they put Companies Act and mainly the 139 to 142 ka sections. You understand? So the answer which was written in November 12 exam was different. Now if the same question is asked in May 17, November 17, the answer is going to be the one which I have written over here right now. Okay, the limit of indebtedness has been increased from 1,000 to 5 lakh and that is why now not disqualified. Yes, read question number 7. XYZ, a firm of CAs, has taken a loan for acquiring a home. The firm has taken a loan for acquiring a home from a company whose managing director's son is an article with a partner of XYZ. So article ka father is the managing director of the company from whom you are taking a loan for acquiring a home. Right. The article assistant had no direct interest in the company and the loan was not related to his engagement. Question number 1 ke jaise na, brilliant, 4 computers. You understand? So what does it say? But I'm reading the fourth line in the answer. But in this case, as per the facts, the article trainee has no direct interest in the company. Did you find that line? However, if relationship direct or indirect can be established in view of the relation of the article with the MD, he would be liable for professional misconduct. XYZ would be guilty of professional misconduct under this clause if it is proved that the loan was related to the engagement of the article. However, if it is not related to the engagement of article, then not guilty. So in question number 1 also, I'd make you mark the wording of regulation 47. Yahan pe see it is given much more shortly. Question number 7 के आंसर का सेकंड लाइन पढ़ो. Regulation 47 of the CA Regulation 1988 prohibits a member from accepting any premium loan deposit or in any other form from an article clerk directly or indirectly. वो 4 words बताए ना मैंने आपको, premium loan deposit or any other form from the article or any other person directly or indirectly in connection with his engagement as an article clerk. Are you getting that? Right, read question number 8. While taking Q as an article, our practicing CA proposed that the stipend as per the regulations will be paid once a year, calculated on a monthly rates prescribed by ICAI, to which Q also agreed. He said, I will pay you stipend on annual basis, monthly basis I will not give you. Yes? Okay? He's agreed. Okay, sir, no problem. You pay me annual, you pay me after 3 years, no problem. Right? Guilty of professional misconduct under clause 1, part 2, second schedule. Right? Read question number 9. Again, only an RTP question. So again on the radar. Hai na? Again on our target lines. Hopeful agreed for such late payment in the hope of getting extra stipend in the form of interest. Student mentality. You understand? Yes, Mr. Vitti, however, used to disburse salary to all of his employees on time. Right? So again, guilty of professional misconduct under 1, 2, 2. In the given case, Vitti has failed to make the payments of stipend to article every month in accordance with regulation 48. The fact that the article will be compensated with extra sum in the form of interest on late payment is not relevant. And the plea that the cycle of professional receipts from client is 6 months is not acceptable, as Vitti has disbursed salary to all his employees on time. Therefore, Vitti is guilty of professional misconduct under 122 as he has contravened regulation 48 by not making the payment every month. Yes, do you get that? Clause 1, part 2, second schedule, contravenes. And before I go to the part 2, clause 2, 3, 4, come to 2.4 on page number 2.78. Important notifications. Are you all there? Page number 2.78, important notifications. Yes, have you found out the first one over there? Record of audit assignments. And what are you going to write against those important notifications? Guilty of professional misconduct under 122. Likho important notifications ke baaju mein. If notifications not followed, where are you going to be guilty of professional misconduct? If notifications not followed, where are you going to be guilty of professional misconduct? Clause 1, part 2, second schedule, contravenes any of the provisions of this act or the regulations made there under or any guidelines issued by the council. 122. Right. Yes. So is there any ceiling on the number of statutory audits which can be accepted by a chartered accountant? And 20 audits per person, excluding one person company, small company, dormant company, and private companies having paid up share capital of less than 100 crore. And other than that, what is the limit on the number of audits which can be taken by one person? 20 audits per person. So should you not keep a track or an audit register? Okay, how many audits have been accepted by you? So that you can keep a track of how many more can you accept. And just as you know, the company has a fixed assets register, the CA firm should maintain an audit register. And why should you maintain this register? Because if you exceed the limit, then you're guilty of professional misconduct under 122. What does it say? If you exceed the limit, then you are guilty of professional misconduct. यहाँ पे देखो, in exercise of the powers conferred by clause 122, if he holds guilty of professional misconduct, if he holds at any appointment of any time, appointment of more than the specified number of audit assignments of the companies under the Companies Act 2013. So if you exceed that ceiling limit of 20, one, so you will be disqualified in the Companies Act, and second, Chartered Accountant Act say you will be guilty of professional misconduct. So that is why you should maintain an audit register. Otherwise, anybody comes and tells you, okay, please do the audit, please do the audit. You're taking everybody's audit, and then you didn't realize, arey yaar, mazak mein 48 audits I have. You understand? And then you say limit was 20 only, and what galti I have done? I've accepted 48 audits. You understand? No. So that is why you have to maintain a register. An audit register, name of company, audit assignment, registration number of the company, date of appointment, and date of acceptance of the appointment. So that you have how many audits you can accept. Why? Because if you exceed the limit, then you will be guilty of professional misconduct under 122. That is why you need to maintain a record of audit assignment. Simple language, you have to maintain an audit register. Do you understand that? Okay. Then after that, next one. You might be knowing this one, Okay, statutory auditors. Right? Statutory auditors, internal auditors, and cost auditors are mutually exclusive. So if I'm doing the stat audit of Geo Limited, I cannot do the internal and cost. If I'm doing the internal audit of Geo Limited, I cannot do the cost and stat. If I'm doing the cost audit of Geo Limited, I cannot do the internal and stat. And if I'm the internal auditor, I also cannot do the tax audit. You understand? No. So if I am the statutory auditor, can I do the internal audit of Geo Limited? No. So what are the disqualifications for cost auditor? All those which are there for the statutory auditor, plus one more, okay, you should not be the statutory auditor. What are the disqualifications for the cost auditor? All those 141(3) ka disqualifications which are there for statutory auditor, plus one more, okay, you should not be the statutory auditor. So if PwC LLP is doing the statutory audit of Geo Limited, PwC LLP cannot do the cost audit of Geo Limited. So if you're doing the statutory audit of a company, can you also do their cost audit? No. If you're doing the cost audit of a company, can you also do their statutory audit? No. So that's the one notification over there. He cannot be appointed as a cost auditor if he's an auditor of the company, and the rest of the other disqualifications of the statutory auditor. So now understand this example. Say this is a cost audit firm, Cost and Company. Which is this? This is a cost audit firm. This cost audit firm is doing the cost audit of Geo Limited. This cost audit firm, Cost and Company is the name of the cost audit firm. They are doing the cost audit of Geo Limited. Can Cost and Company do the stat audit of Geo Limited? Can Cost and Company do the statutory audit of Geo Limited? No. Now this Cost and Company has an employee, CAA. This employee is also a CA in practice. Matlab he is working in the cost audit firm also, and he has also got his individual practice of CA also. So in his individual practice as a chartered accountant, can he do the statutory audit of Geo Limited? Can the cost audit firm do the stat audit of Geo Limited? No. So can an employee of the cost auditor who is a CA in practice do the stat audit of Geo Limited? Are you getting my wordings? Employee of a cost auditor. He is an employee of a cost auditor. Can he in his individual practice do the statutory audit of Geo Limited? No, he cannot do the statutory audit of Geo Limited. Direct rasta band, indirect rasta bhi band. Employee of a cost auditor cannot be appointed to do the statutory audit. Otherwise, what the cost auditors will do? They will appoint an employee, and that employee is a CA in practice, and they'll tell him, you do the stat audit. So direct rasta, cost auditor, you cannot do statutory audit, and even your employees who are CAs in practice, even they cannot do the stat audit. Is everybody understanding what I am telling you? Right? So direct rasta band and indirect rasta bhi band. Yes, this is the next one. A member in practice who is an employee of a cost auditor of a company cannot become the auditor of the company under section 139. So employee of a cost auditor, even he cannot become the statutory auditor. Right? Read question number 1. Suraj and Company are the cost auditors of Beauty Cosmetics Limited, duly appointed under 148. Kiran, a CA holding a COP, who is a part-time employee of Suraj and Company, accepts his appointment as a statutory auditor under 139. Who is Kiran? Employee of the cost auditor holding a COP. Can he do the stat audit of Geo Limited or of Beauty Cosmetics Limited? No. Employee of a cost auditor, even he cannot do the statutory audit. He will be guilty of professional misconduct. Then practicing CA. Day 1 you qualify and day 1 you start your practice. From day 1 of practice, are you required to maintain any books of account? Practicing CA, you've got your COP, certificate of practice. So do you need to maintain any books of account? Or do you need to maintain books of account only after you've exceeded the limit of Income Tax Act? Like Income Tax Act, there is a limit, no, for maintenance of books of account. Okay, companies which are prescribed to maintain books of account. So here also, will you follow the Income Tax Act ka limit, or will you have to maintain books of account from day 1 of practice? From day 1 of practice, practicing CA has to maintain a cash book and a ledger. A member in practice has to maintain and keep in respect of his professional practice proper books of account including cash book and ledger from day 1 of practice, irrespective of the limits which have been given under the Income Tax Act. From day 1 of practice, practicing CA, you have to maintain a cash book and a ledger. Right? Read question number 1. Arjit registered his proprietary firm last year and started practicing in the name Arjit and Company. He is of the view that a professional needs to maintain books only if his earnings exceeds the minimum prescribed limit as per the Income Tax Act. Therefore, he decided not to maintain the books as his earnings are below the prescribed limit given under section 44AA of the said Act. Is that okay? Not okay? So guilty of, he has to maintain books of account from day 1. So that is why guilty of professional misconduct under 122. Right? What does it say? Chapter 5 of the Council General Guidelines specifies that a member of the institute or a firm of CAs of which a partner shall maintain and keep in respect of its professional practice proper books of account including cash book and ledger. Thus, a chartered accountant is required to maintain the books of account. Right? Question number 2. Careless is a partner in a firm of CAs which did not maintain books of account in respect of professional income and expenditure. Is there any professional misconduct? Yes. Why no misconduct? मैं वही तो बोल रही हूँ. From day 1 of practice, practicing CA, you have to maintain cash book and ledger. Irrespective of the limits under the income tax law. Compulsory है, मैं वही तो बोल रही हूँ. And if you don't maintain the books of account, then you're guilty of professional misconduct under clause 1, part 2, second schedule. Read the question again. Careless is a partner in a firm of CAs which did not maintain books of account. अरे नहीं चलेगा. Day 1 of practice, you have to maintain cash book and ledger. Okay. राइट वो सीए स्मार्ट का क्वेश्चन देखो और है ना 2.79 का ही लास्ट. सीए स्मार्ट, a CA in practice, runs his proprietorship firm by as Smart and Company. His annual gross receipts are in excess of 40 lakh. He maintains a small pocket diary, so sweet, in which he writes the fees received from the various clients. Based on this record, he prepares and files his income tax return. उसके सारे क्लाइंट को भी डायरी देते होगे वो कि सब लोग डायरी मेंटेन करो. Right, so from day one of practice, you have to maintain a cash book and a ledger. Okay, right. I've already told you this one, na? Specified number of tax audit assignments. How many tax audits per person? 60 tax audits per person. So now listen to me carefully. Okay, right. This was R raised to 10 for November 16 exams. है ना? R raised to 10 when we were preparing for this है ना, topic before November 16. So now, in my firm, say example, there are 10 partners. In my firm, say example, there are 10 partners. So how many tax audits maximum our firm can accept? Yes, how many tax audits maximum our firm can accept? 600 tax audits. Okay, so now, out of the 10 partners in our firm, how many total partners are there? 10 partners. How many tax audits we can accept in total? 600. So now, can one partner in the firm sign all the 600 tax audit reports? Partner of the firm. There are 10 partners in my firm. You understand? So can we accept 600 tax audit assignments? Yes. Now one partner can only sign all the 600 reports? Yes, he can, assuming that the other 9 are not signing any other in their individual capacity. Right? That was the clarification given by ICAI. According to a clarification on tax audit assignments, if there are 10 partners in a firm, then all the partners of the firm can collectively sign tax audit reports, 600 tax audit reports. This maximum limit of 600 tax audits may be distributed between the partners in any manner whatsoever. For instance, one partner can individually sign the 600 tax audit reports in case if the remaining 9 are not signing any tax audit reports. Right, read question number 1, November 16. मतलब ये तो expected ही था, so there is no surprise as such because this was new entry. You understand? A member of the institute shall not accept in a year more than the specified number of tax audits under section 44AB of the Income Tax Act. Gaurav is a partner in a firm XYZ and Company, a firm of chartered accountants with 6 partners. During the assessment year 2015-16, Gaurav alone had signed 290 tax audit reports consisting of both corporate and non-corporate assessees. Comment. Is Gaurav okay by signing 290 tax audit reports? Yeah. You understand now, 90% of the students who would have written the answer that he is guilty of professional misconduct, saying that individually you can sign only 60. You can accept 60, but can one partner sign all the 600 in our example? Yes, assuming that the others are not signing any other tax audit reports. Right, this notification I've already done with you. The next one. You understand? I told you, 811. Do you remember 811? Clause 8, Part 1, first schedule, NOC. So one, the incoming auditor is required to obtain an NOC from the outgoing auditor. And second, incoming auditor, you need to check whether the undisputed audit fees of the outgoing auditor have been paid. However, this provision does not apply to a SIC unit. SIC unit. And what is a SIC unit? Where the net worth is negative, right? So read this notification. A member in practice shall not accept the appointment as an auditor of an entity if undisputed audit fees of another CA for statutory audit have not been paid. However, the above notification does not apply to a SIC unit. Right? Do you get the question? The notification? Incoming auditor, you also need to check whether the undisputed audit fees of the previous auditor has been paid. However, this notification does not apply to a SIC unit. And what is a SIC unit? Where the net worth is negative. Right? So read question number 1. C accepted the statutory audit of PSU whose net worth is negative. Is notification applicable? Arey, be alert in the class now. Is the notification applicable? Why? Net worth is negative, so sick unit. The audit was to be conducted for 4-5. The audited accounts for 4-5 showed liability for payment of tax audit fees of 15,000 in favor of E, the previous auditor. So is C guilty of professional misconduct as he's accepted the audit and the previous audit fees have not been paid? No. Why? Because the provision does not apply to a sick unit. And what is a sick unit? Where the net worth is negative. Right? Read the second question over there. November 16. Mr. Z accepted the statutory audit of a sick unit NCT Limited for 2015. During the course of audit, it was noticed by the statutory auditor that the company's net worth was negative for 2014 and there was also a liability of tax audit fees of 35,000 in favor of the previous auditor. Comment. Same, no? No guilty because it comes under the exception. Right.
But 811 का भी reference दे सकते हैं ना, first he has to communicate with previous auditor.
No, but the question is only on the notification. So that is not to be coming in the answer. You understand? So November 16, all 4 questions I have covered with you. पहला question क्या था? Fundamental principles and the threats to independence, IOC CPT, and self-review threats, self-interest threats, advocacy threats, intimacy threats, and familiarity threats. Right. Then after that, second one, 2 illustrative examples of other misconduct. Then after that, this Gaurav signed 290 tax audit reports. And third one, the sick unit. और अभी sick unit कितना time हो गया? November 2005 they had asked. Matlab, see na, even I think, who knew that when I had to prepare the 19th edition of the book, I'll have to write down or and add this question over here. You understand na? If you look at the 18th edition of the book, certainly this question, and November 16 is not there, only November 2005 ka question is there. और पुराने दर्द भी बहुत काम आते हैं. You understand na? November 2005 ka, it comes and it becomes handy for you in November 2016 also. You understand? Okay, it was asked, so you know, okay, sick unit when net worth is negative. So even that notification sometimes gains so much significance. And institute का तो कुछ बोल ही नहीं सकते. This time 2 questions on notification.
Example.
उसमें वो एक example और ऊपर से fundamental principle. इसके पहले वाले May 16. Right. इसके पहले in the May 16 paper 2 questions on 211. Pays or allows or agrees to pay or allow, directly or indirectly. On that they asked 2 questions. Now, it's so unpredictable, no? But you know, you should keep on thanking God. Okay, thank God the questions are from the syllabus. You know, okay, thankfully, you know, let them go here, there, anywhere. But at least tell them don't go beyond the boundary. Be inside the stadium. You understand? Inside the whatever syllabus we are studying. Right. Okay. Right. And indebtedness. Right. Now, indebtedness. 1, it says, if the limit of indebtedness has been given in law, you follow the limit given in law. So for company audit, the limit of indebtedness has been given in law, that is 5 lakh. However, if the limit of indebtedness is not given in law, then the limit of indebtedness is 10,000. So for tax auditor, how much is the limit of indebtedness? 10,000. If the limit of indebtedness has been given in law, it says auditor, see, you follow the limit given under the respective law. So for company auditor, we will follow the limit given in law, 5 lakh. And for all other audits, the audits which are there in the list, the limit of indebtedness is 10,000. However, this limit of indebtedness of 10,000 does not apply to the internal auditor, to the concurrent auditor, and the auditor giving report to the management. Do you get that? So will it apply to tax auditor? Yes. But will it apply to internal auditor, concurrent auditor, or an auditor giving report to the management? No. So what does it say? If the limit is given in law, then follow the limit given in law. If not, है ना, यहाँ बोला है ना, yes, follow the limits fixed in the statute. And in other cases, the limit is 10,000. That is first thing. Then second, after that, what do they say? Internal tax audit, concurrent auditor, internal auditor, and management auditor, indebtedness is not to be checked. You're understanding now what I'm saying? If the limit is given in law, like for company auditor, the limit has been given in law to be 5 lakh. In other cases, the limit of indebtedness is 10,000. However, indebtedness is not to be checked for internal auditor, concurrent auditor, and an auditor who is giving report to the management. Right? Come to question number 1. D, who conducts the tax audit under section 44AB of the Income Tax Act of ABC, a partnership firm, has received the entire audit fee of 25,000 in April in respect of tax audit for the year 2009. The audit report was signed on 25th of May. Okay. Audit fees received in advance is not to be considered as indebtedness. Because that is what you are receiving for the work which you have done.
But work is not done.
But it is done, no? What does it say? The progressive basis, but it could be considered that way. Because the report is to be signed, no? On 25th of May. So what does it say, right? So what do you say? It is not on progressive basis. It is entire fees in advance which has been paid. So first, so they've given 141(3)(d)(2). But this limit is only for the statutory auditor. So what does it say? There is no similar provision in the Income Tax Act. Further, the research committee of ICAI has expressed an opinion that where in accordance with the terms of engagement, the auditor recovers his fees on a progressive basis, as and when a part of the work is done without waiting for the completion of the work, he cannot be said to be indebted to the company at any stage. Now here, is it progressive basis or full basis? Full basis. So will this be considered as progressive basis? No. So will this be considered as indebtedness? Yes. And how much is the limit for tax audit or tax auditor indebtedness? 10,000. Here, how much is indebted? 25,000. Are you getting? Recovers his fees on a progressive basis. However, as per Chapter 10 of the Council Guidelines, a member of the institute or a partner of firm of CAs or a firm shall not accept appointment as an auditor of a concern while indebted to the concern or given guarantee which for an amount exceeding 10,000. In the instant case, D is appointed to conduct a tax audit under the Income Tax Act. He has received the fee of 25,000 in April and the repairs which is not on a progressive basis. Furthermore, the monetary limit is also exceeding the limit of 10,000 as per the guidelines, and therefore D will be held guilty for misconduct. Right? So in total, how many questions have we seen? Say 4, 5 over there and a lot of questions under 1 to 2 itself. You understand, no? We've seen, I think, 8 questions over here. 8 or 9 questions over here. 1 to 2. Then what is 2 to 2? Breach of confidentiality for CAs in service. Being an employee of any company, firm or person. Are you all there? Page number 2.77. Being an employee of any company, firm or person. Discloses confidential information acquired in the course of his employment, except as and when required by any law for the time being enforced or except as permitted by the employer. So that is breach of confidentiality, CAs in service 1 to 2. 2 to 2. Breach of confidentiality, CAs in practice 112 and CAs in service 2 to 2. Then what is 3 to 2? IFRS. In any information form, return or statement to be submitted to institute or any of its functionaries provides any particulars knowing them to be false. Provides any particulars knowing them to be false. Right? Read question number 1. P and Q are running a firm of CAs in the name of PQ and Company. Are running a firm of CAs in the name PQ and Company. On 21st of June, they included the name of R, a practicing CA, without his knowledge, as a partner while submitting an application for empanelment as auditor for public sector bank branches to the institute. So institute pe they had to empanel. So what they did, they put the name of R as an auditor, as a partner, whereas R was actually not their partner. So they are giving false particulars to ICAI. So that is guilty of professional misconduct under 3 to 2. Right? So November 2007 and May 2016. You understand? So again, after a long time, the question repeated.
Let's go 9 attempts back. This is the third time there's a paper that's coming after the 9 years, 18 attempts.
Okay. Right. So as per clause 3, part 2, second schedule. Right. So that is why, so much importance to look at the previous exam questions. Right, so in the instant case, CAP and CAQ partners included the name of R, another CA in practice as a partner in their firm without his knowledge in their application for empanelment as auditor of branches of public sector banks submitted to the institute. However, such a member was not a partner of the firm on the date of application submitted. Hence, here P and Q have submitted wrong information to the institute. Therefore, they would be guilty of professional misconduct. Then what is 422? Defalcates, embezzles money received in professional capacity. है ना? Treasure khali. Right. And then part 3, second schedule. What is part 3, second schedule? Other misconduct in relation to the members of the institute generally. A member of the institute, whether in practice or not, shall be deemed to be guilty of other misconduct if he has held guilty by any civil or criminal court for an offence which is punishable with imprisonment for a term exceeding 6 months. Right, so that is clause 1, part 3, second schedule. And these notifications, have I already seen them with you? And books of account, tax audit assignments, cost auditor cannot be the statutory auditor and vice versa. Employee of cost auditor cannot do the statutory audit. Then what do you say? The undisputed audit fees of the previous auditor should be paid. However, this provision does not apply to sick unit where the net worth is negative. Then indebtedness limit is given in law, follow the limit given in law. Otherwise, the limit is 10,000. And it says advance fees received will be considered as indebtedness. Progressive fees is not indebtedness. Okay. Right? So, no. For cost auditor in 5 lakh. Because cost auditor, all the disqualifications of the statutory auditor are also applicable to the cost auditor. You understand? Companies Act may generally study disqualifications of cost auditor. Now, what is given over there? All the disqualifications of the company auditor, plus he should not be the company auditor. 139. Right. So now what we are left with is only a few recommended self-regulatory measures and the KYC norms, right, which we will complete tomorrow. We are left with the recommended self-regulatory measures and the KYC norms, and then we need to prepare a summary of the 34 clauses, which we shall complete tomorrow, right? And then tomorrow we will also start with CARO 2016, right? So we'll stop here for today.